Today I'm going to show you how to make this 1/12 scale doll's house bread bin or bread box. I've used a water slide transfer for the lettering on the front. It has a removable lid. And the overall dimensions of the bread bin are 28mm wide, that's 1 1/8 inches, by 17mm deep, that's 11/16 of an inch, by 15.5mm high, not including this wooden knob, and that's 5/8 of an inch high. I've done two here, this one in just plain wood, and I've also done a painted one which is in a pale green. To complete the project you're going to need a craft knife, such as this Swan Morton basic craft knife, which takes a 10A blade. Always start with a new blade at the beginning of a project, or if the blade starts to drag or catch along the wood, that means it needs changing. Steel ruler for measuring and to use when cutting the wood, along with the knife. Nice sharp pencil for accurate marking. Also going to be using this pin drill and a 1mm drill bit. Glue, I use Gorilla Glue, which is really strong and it bonds really quickly as well. Cocktail sticks for applying glue and removing excess glue from joins. Just a piece of card to dispense the glue onto. Using two different grades of sandpaper. This is 120 grade for sanding the cut edges of the wood, and then a finer grade like this sanding disc, which is a 500 for finishing off pieces and using on the thinner wood that we're going to be using. To finish the piece I've used a clear wax. It's actually shoe polish. You could also use furniture polish and just a piece of kitchen towel to apply that with. And then for the wood, I'm using a beche, two different thicknesses, 1.5mm and then this very thin 0.87mm, which is like a very thin ply to do the mouldings around the lid. And then for the wording on the front of the bread bin, I've used a water slide transfer. They can be bought online, they come in sheets, A4 sheets. You can just search Google for water slide transfer, water slide decal sheets. And for the handle on the lid here, I've used a 3mm wooden draw knob, and you can buy these in packs from most sort of doll's house accessory suppliers. We're going to begin by constructing the actual box part of the bread bin. So once your pieces are cut, just very gently sand the edges of each piece, and to do that you just need to go in one direction along the sandpaper. And just smooth off each edge. Did all the other pieces earlier. And then we're going to begin by attaching the side pieces to the outer edges of the base piece. Now when you're doing this, as this side piece is almost square, just make sure that you're attaching the shorter edge to the side of the base piece, so that's the 13mm edge to the edge of the base piece. So I've just dispensed some glue onto a piece of card, and I'm using the cocktail stick to just apply glue to each end, each short end of the base piece. And just press that into place and hold for a few seconds. And then do the other side. And you can just use another cocktail stick just to remove the glue along the joins. And then just let that dry off for a few seconds. On here, I did earlier. And then we want to apply the glue along the other edges. And turn that round. Do the other side. And then we just want to attach the front and back piece. So just put them into place like that, and then just make sure that the side piece is completely upright and in line with the edge of the back piece. And then attach the front. And again, just make sure that the sides are in line. And you can just press that together. Remove any excess glue. Now we've got the box part of the bread bin. So once the glue has dried off a bit and you've got a nice sturdy box there, you can sand all the edges, so including the top and bottom, and just hold it quite firmly against the sandpaper and just go round in nice circular motions on all sides. When you're doing the sides, so that they don't sort of warp, just go in the one direction again. The other side. You can do the front and back too. And then we end up with a nice smooth box. So if you want to paint your bread bin, now is the time to do that. And you only have to actually paint the sides. You don't have to do the inside, and you don't need to do the bottom because we'll be attaching a base on there. So if your fingers aren't too big, you can just hold it by putting your finger inside. And then just apply your paint. So once you've applied a nice even coat all the way round, that can just be put to one side to dry. And now I'm going to prepare the base. So to shape the base, you'll need to use a fine grade sandpaper. This is a sanding sheet, but it's grade 500. And because this wood is very flimsy, just support it with your finger as low down as you can. And then just to round off the edge, just gently sweep it across the piece of sandpaper, just bringing it into an upright as you come towards you. And just keep going until you're happy that you've got a nice round, smooth edge. Not sure if you can see that there, but it's just very gently rounded, and then you just want to do each edge in the same way. And then once it's rounded, just go along that that way to smooth off the edge. Okay, then we're going to attach the base to the actual bread box, like that. So if you just apply glue to the bottom of the box, using your cocktail stick, try not to put too much on, and then just press it against the base piece so that you leave an even overhang around each edge, and that should be about 1/2 millimetre. And just press that down until the glue begins to take. And then holding it in place, making sure it's even all the way around. You can just use the other cocktail stick to remove the excess glue. When you're attaching a thinner wood to a piece, it does have a tendency to curl as the glue dries, so just try and hold that into place until the glue starts to take. And then you can put that to one side to dry off. So now we're going to make the lid, and we're going to start by attaching a moulding along the top of the lid. So just apply glue to the moulding and then lay across the top of the lid, making sure that the top of the moulding is just flush with the top of the lid, top edge, and just press those together. And then we want to attach the side, or the short mouldings, to each side. Again, making sure that it's flush with the side of the lid. These smaller pieces can be a bit tricky to handle, so use tweezers if you need to. Just press that down and then attach the remaining long moulding across the bottom. And press down. And then just use another cocktail stick to remove the glue from all the joins there. And then I've already prepared the central moulding. by rounding the edges as we did earlier with the base, just very gently sweeping it along the fine grade sandpaper to create that rounded edge. And I've done that to all edges, and I just want to apply glue to this piece as well. And then attach that so it sits in the centre and there's a nice border around each edge. You can just do that by eye. Once you're happy that that's nice and central, again you can just remove the glue and just put that to one side until the glue has set. And here's one I made earlier. And again, using the fine grade sandpaper, you can actually hold that flat against the sandpaper and just sand it in circular motions. And then I want to round each edge on both sides to give us a nice rounded edge all the way round. Let's get rid of the dust there. This isn't quite as flimsy because obviously it's two pieces joined together, but still be careful. It's very annoying if it breaks at this stage. So that's the top edge, and then you just turn it over and then just do the bottom edge. And that just gives us a nice rounded end. And again, you want to do that on all sides of the piece. So once all the edges are rounded and you're happy with how that's looking, just hold the piece in your hand, and again using the fine grade sandpaper, just gently round off each corner. You just really lightly just sweep the sandpaper over the corner. I'll do that on each one. And then put that to one side for the moment. And then in the cutting list I advise to cut the lid stay after construction. And the reason for that is if these side pieces are just slightly in a little bit at each edge, that will adjust the size of the opening, and the stay needs to be exactly that size so that it fits neatly into the opening. So you just want to remeasure the width and the depth, and then just cut a piece from the 1.5mm wood to fit. So once you've cut a piece for the lid stay, you just need to glue that into place on the underside of the lid, and so that it sits in the centre, exactly in the centre. You can just place that by eye. If you're not very good at placing by eye, then you can just measure to make sure you've got exactly the same border around all edges. And just press that down. Use the cocktail stick again to remove the excess glue. and then just leave that to dry. So once the lid stay is attached and the glue has just dried, just want to make a pencil mark in the centre of the lid. Go across the long edge first and just make a very faint mark there, and then go across the shorter edge, just lining it up with the mark you've already made there. And then I'm just going to drill a hole using this pin drill, and I've got a 1mm drill bit in there. So just place it over your mark, and I'm just holding the top and twisting. Once that's through, the wood will start to turn. And I always just like to push it all the way through. Like that. And then just make sure that the wooden knob fits before applying any glue. So just try that, and that goes in there nicely. But if the stalk of the drawer knob was a bit thicker, you can just put the drill bit back in and just very carefully just make the hole slightly larger. So just dab some glue just into the hole. Oops. And just press the wooden knob into place. And then again use a cocktail stick to remove the excess glue. Like that. So the final stage in completing our bread bin is to apply the water slide transfer to the front. And water slide paper is like a coated paper that's sold in A4 sheets, and you print your design onto the paper and then coat it with a clear varnish, which you then leave to dry, and it then creates a sort of sticker or decal that you can peel off and apply to your piece. Now I make quite a lot of miniatures, so when I do it I can cover a whole A4 sheet. If you can't, it's a waste, because then you can't reuse the sheet because you need to put it through your inkjet printer. But you can also use these transfers for mugs and cups, full-size mugs, putting photographs on them, so you could fill some of it up with that and then use the rest for your miniature transfers. So I've made this small transfer saying bread, white lettering on a black background, and to apply the transfer you just soak it in some warm water just for a minute or so. There's one I put in earlier, so I'll just drop that one in there as well. So using some tweezers, I'm just going to get that one out of the water if I can. Now you can see it's come away from the backing, and just shake off the excess water and then just apply it to the front of your bread bin. Now once it's in place it's very hard to get off, so try and get it straight and in the centre. And then you can just press that into place. And let it dry off, and you can use a piece of kitchen towel just to dab that off. Being careful so that it doesn't move. And then just leave that to dry. So once the water slide transfer has set into place, I'm just going to finish off the bread bin with a coat of clear wax. This is a clear shoe polish, or you could use furniture wax. And just use a piece of kitchen towel to apply. And just apply in small circular motions. You'll see that beginning just to soak into the wood. It gives it a nice sort of rich yellowy colour. Just go all the way around. And then you can go over the water slide transfer, but just be really careful as you're doing it. Just apply it really lightly. Like that. And don't forget the lid. And around the edges as well. And don't forget the handle. Wipe it all the way around there. And then just use a cocktail stick to get the wax out of the groove. And there you are, the completed bread bin.